I'm here right now with Don Felder. He is a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee. He's known as the former lead guitarist of the Eagles, the co-writer of the iconic hit Hotel California. He's going to be performing Friday, August 8th at the Freedom Mortgage Pavilion right here in Camden, New Jersey. And he has a new album that just came out called The Vault, and it's with Styx and Kevin Cronin. This is so cool. Thanks for coming on, Don.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for having me on. The other thing I want to tell you about is I am doing an amazing thing for St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Yes.
It's called the Rock and Roll Retreat Sweepstakes.
Yes.
And you can go to donfelder.com/contests and fill out your name and address and stuff. And you can make a contribution of as little as $20. But what you get for that contribution is your ticket to win the sweepstake. And the stuff you would be able to win would be you would get a round trip airfare from wherever in the continental America you live to Nashville. You get 3 nights to stay at the most incredible Nashville suite at the Westin Hotel, the Broadway suite, which is unbelievable. It's huge, right? It's got its pool table in the living room. It's just like crazy sweet.
Wow.
You'll get a white double neck, like I play, $12.75. You'll get a tour of the Gibson Garage, which is like not even a half block away. And it includes all of their legendary vault with their historical, brand new, the very first rendition of guitars that Gibson ever made. You get to go into that area, which is not open to the public, with me, and we'll take out some of these amazing guitars and have pictures with you holding them or playing them or whoever wins, right? And then I'm going to do a showcase the next day where I play and talk and play my Gibson guitars in the Gibson showroom there, which you'll be able to come to.
Oh, wow.
You'll get a one-on-one guitar lesson, which I haven't taught since I was in Gainesville, teaching Tom Petty and some other people, but you're going to get a one-on-one guitar lesson from me if it's somebody that actually plays guitar and wants to sit down with me, or we can just tell stories and jokes and have a good time for an hour or so. And then you're going to get 2 tickets to the Musicians Hall of Fame in Nashville, where I was inducted. And it's really a block and a half from the Westin and the Garage. So you can go through and see a bunch of stuff like that. So it's donfelder.com/contests is the official place you want to go to do it. And it's amazing. Every dime that comes in goes directly to St. Jude's. Nobody makes any money out of it except St. Jude's. So that's fantastic. And what we're going to do during this whole month between now and I think it's September 5th or September 6th when the sweepstakes is open, is every show we play, we're going to be telling everybody in the audience, which if you were there in Camden, you would see and hear all about it there while I'm on stage, to get people there aware of how much help and support St. Jude uses to find cures to keep children alive.
It's funny because I was going to bring this up and talk about it with you. And one of my questions was, what emotions are you feeling knowing that you're helping to raise funds for St. Jude's and for children with serious illnesses? And I can clearly see that, you're just so happy to do that. Can you talk to us about your connection with St. Jude?
Yeah, sure. I started doing benefits for them. I've done probably 6, 7, maybe 8 over the years. And at these benefits, they're usually golf events where they have music on a Friday or Saturday night. It's me and Alice Cooper and Kevin Cronin and a bunch of people that get up and play, 4 or 5 songs for the crowd. But the most impactful thing is the night they bring out at their gala, they bring out some kids that have survived cancer with their parents. And that tears just start flowing out of everybody in the audience. And checks, people just throwing money at this. It's really an emotional. So after I went through 5 or 6 of those fundraisers, I went, when we're on tour, I want to try to do something to help raise money, not for myself, but for St. Jude.
Yeah.
And the last one of the benefits we did was in Memphis, and we went over to the St. Jude's Research Hospital. And while we were there, a lady came and met us and was our guide, taking us around. I'm just making conversation with her. I said, do you work here on a 40-hour week? She says, no, I just volunteer. I said, you volunteer? She said, yeah, I came here as a child and they saved my life.
Wow. Wow.
So it was, another one of those moments where you just really feel
Yeah.
what that place does. And they have, since Danny Thomas started St. Jude's in 1960 or 61, 62, somewhere back in that, the survival rate of children with different forms of cancer was 20%.
Right.
And now today, it's up to 80% because of their research. They've saved so many lives, and the more they research, the better they are able to save lives. So that's why we're doing it.
It's great that you're actually helping the community and you're helping these organizations and you're using it like for good, just like you said, that woman who volunteered. And,
Yeah,
and just because she did that good deed, see how that reflected on you and then it made you
yeah,
want to do the same thing, which is really nice. It's inspiring, which is great.
yeah. Well, the tour is just a fun place to be. I mean, I've
Yeah.
toured with Styx, I've toured with REO, I've toured with Foreigner, I've toured with
Ah,
Adobe, I've toured with a lot of people. But everybody in these three bands, myself, Kevin Cronin, which is basically REO, but it's called Kevin Cronin, formerly of REO, and Styx. We know each other for decades. There's no egos, there's no drama, there's no hissy fits backstage. There's none of that. We
really?
just
I was
have,
going to find out about that. I was going to ask you if there are any fun stories.
well, it's because you're really living with these people, all the way down to the truck drivers and the bus drivers, the front of house, the lighting directors, the guitar techs, and all three. There's a lot of people in that tour, and you just know probably 95% of them, and you've worked with them before, and we just have a great time being together off the stage and then on the stage as well. It's just a great tour. It's a lot of fun. It's about 4 hours of nothing but solid hits after hit after hit after hit after hit. And we also have a 40-foot wide by 20-foot tall video screen at the back of the stage.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's video going on for the whole show, which is really great. I wish you could come see it. It's really an
I
amazing
know. I
show.
am going to make it one of these days. We'll have to connect and I'll let you know the next time I could
Yeah.
go. So,
Come anytime you want, as my guest.
thank you. That's so
Yeah.
sweet. Thank you so much. So, your CD, you have the album coming out and it has music that was either not really finished or had been released yet, right? So, what was the inspiration with that? Like, how did you want to reconnect with fans with those songs?
Well, it was funny because I went through 5 major fires out in Malibu. And I had friends whose houses burned down that had amazing antique guitar collections and old Les Pauls and studios that burned down. And finally, after the fifth fire, I said, I don't think I want to live here anymore because my number might just come up and I don't want to lose everything I've got.
Yeah.
So I packed everything up, my studio, my consoles, everything, and put it in a storage unit in the year 2000 when I moved out of Malibu. And I moved in and rented a house here in parts of LA. And I started looking for a house that I could buy to move my studio into. So it took about 9 months of looking at houses, and I finally found this house that I'm in now. And I bought it from Seal, and he had already had a recording studio in it,
Wow.
the room, but he took all of his equipment out because I wanted all my equipment, right?
Okay.
So then once he moved out and we redid the house, remodeled all the kitchen and the bathrooms, all that stuff, I went out. I started thinking, I want to put in a digital studio instead of the old tape machine analog stuff. So
Yeah.
I got a whole new digital console and a whole new computer system and Pro Tools and just state of the art up to and the way it sounds is so much different than the old analog tape with the hiss
Of course.
as
I
it's
know.
going by, right?
Yeah.
So, 20 something years go by. In the middle of COVID, I said, you know, I, I've been paying rent on this storage locker. I don't even know what's in that anymore. Let's go out and take a look. So we went out and opened it up, and sure enough, there was my console and the tape machines and all the stuff that I had in my other studio. But there was this big cardboard box in the middle of the room on the floor, and it had probably close to 100 cassettes in it.
Wow.
And it had ADATs, which was another form of digital recording like cassette. It had CDs in it. And so I realized that every time I had written something, whether it was for the Eagles or for a movie score or soundtrack album like heavy metal or whatnot, I had made mixes of these ideas. When I first joined the band, the Eagles, my friend and high school bandmate, Bernie Ledden, told me, if you want to write songs for the Eagles, don't write melody and don't write lyrics. Just write music beds in a song structure, like intro, verse 1, verse 2,
Wow.
chorus,
That's
verse 3, chorus, solo, chorus, chorus, chorus out, right?
that's it.
So I would, every time we were working on a project, I'd write 10, 15, 20 song ideas in that format. And I'd put them on a cassette and I'd give them to Don and Glenn and Joe and Timothy, whoever was in the band at the time. And if they liked something, they would write to it. One of them became Hotel California. One of them became Victim of Love. One became Those Shoes, just so I had this abundance of song ideas in this box. So I said, I got to take this box back to my studio and transfer these from cassette, because the tape after a while just erodes,
Yeah,
it just
no.
goes away. So I said, let's take and transfer these to digital Pro Tools so we can save them on a hard drive. So we're in there transferring. I'm in the kitchen getting a cup of coffee, and I start hearing some of these progressions that I had written. And I went, that was a great, put a little star by that one. And so I wound up having 5 or 6 that
Wow.
I really liked. And I said, well, I've got to finish these songs. But I never went back that far. But some of these things go back to 74 when I very first joined the band.
Yeah.
And I was brought into the band because I played slide guitar. They loved my slide guitar playing. So I said, I'm going to write a track about with slide guitar on it. So I wrote this really cool slide guitar part on it. And then I made a cassette and I gave it to Don and Glenn. And then Henley said, I really like this. We should call it Slide On. And I went, that sounds a little corny to me,
Right.
about playing slide. So it just never went anywhere. But when I heard it, I heard that slide part and I went, that was a great slide part. And instead of Slide On, I'd just broken up with the gal that I'd been engaged to and in a relationship,
Oh,
and it just was not working. So I said, why don't we make it Move On? It's time
nice.
to just move
Yeah,
on.
I like
And
it.
everybody can relate to that one.
Yeah.
When you get there, you finally go, okay, this is not fun. Let's just move on. So all the songs that were discovered and rediscovered, and I had to write lyrics and sing and produce them. But we went back in and built it from the ground up. We didn't use any of the old tape sound. It was just a reference for the idea.
Yeah.
Like one of the new songs that I wrote after that wasn't in that pile of cassettes and everything was a song called I Like the Thing You Do. And so I was on a treadmill with my girlfriend and I, Jaden, and we were on the treadmill just going like crazy. And I can't wear headphones and listen to music while I'm running.
Oh,
Or else I have to run in tempo with the
oh.
with the song, right?
Yeah, I
I
get
can't
it.
listen.
Yeah.
So I'm on there and I look over at her and she just looks fantastic and she's just running away and I'm running away. And I keep hearing this lyric, I really like the things you do. I really like the things you do. So I pick up my phone, put it on record. I'm running on the treadmill. I really like all the things that you do. And I look over at the guy next to me and he's looking at me like, what the heck are you doing singing into your phone on the treadmill?
Yeah.
But I managed to capture it, and I turned it off. And then when I got back to the house, I said, I'm going to take that idea and start a little song from the ground up. And it turned out to be, I Like the Things You Do.
Wow. Wow. It's so crazy how that little spark of inspiration turns into something so major. So cool.
That's That's the most fun part of being creative in the studio, where you don't have to worry about it being a hit record or do this or whatever, and you can try to do it in any format you want. Like I did a thing on there called Blue Skies, and it was just an acoustic guitar part that I was playing, and we had gone to see this beautiful quartet that was just amazing, and I said, maybe if I had them play on the acoustic guitar track, we could make something really unusual and different and sweet. So I did it, and it's called Blue Skies because I wrote it for Glenn after he passed.
Oh, wow.
And then I had the girls, those four girls, sing 3 or 4 times all together around a mic. I'll be forever wishing you blue skies. And so you can hear it in the very end of the fade of the song, but it sounds like a bunch of angels singing. So it was just fun to do. That's not going to be a hit on the radio, but it was just an idea, and you breathe life into
Brought
it.
it to life.
Creativity.
Well,
Yeah,
speaking of that, I mean, there's so many young artists and people who have been doing it for a long time, and they have all these great creative ideas for songs, and then they go in the studio and make them. But, to get it mainstream, that's not always so easy. What advice would you give someone?
I would give someone the same advice that I lived by myself. I started playing guitar when I was 10 years old, and I just fell in love with music. There wasn't internet, there weren't iPhones, there weren't video games. We had a black and white TV with a screen about 12 inches by 12 inches in a cabinet that looked like a washing machine. It was so big with tubes and everything in it. And it had 3 channels, black and white. It had ABC, CBS, and NBC, and they all went off the air at sundown.
Right.
So
Otherwise, snowy.
there was nothing to do. So when I first discovered and got a guitar, I just every spare minute I got, we didn't have money for lessons, so I had to learn how to play just by listening and copying and stuff like that. And even to this day, I can hear somebody play something and go, he's in the key of E flat, and he's playing here. I can hear what he's doing and do it pretty easily. So anyway.
That's cool. I think that's so cool. And you brought up the Eagles a few times, and now that they have their residency at the Las Vegas Sphere, how do you feel about that?
Well, I haven't been, but I haven't been to the Sphere, but I have friends that have gone to see it, and they said it's a shame because whether it's U2 or the Eagles or whatever fantastic band there is, everybody's looking at the screen. Everybody's distracted by all the graphics instead of the artists being featured on the screen. It's like you're just the soundtrack. It's like the old movies used to have a piano player that would play for the silent movies. You know what I mean?
Right, yes.
Yeah. So that he said it's really odd because nobody's paying attention to the band. They're all looking at the
but they're listening to the music and enjoying the whole ambiance. Right. But still, so when was the last time you talked to your former bandmates?
Probably, I don't know, 1.5 years, 2 years ago, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I like it. So, it was funny. I told some people that I was going to be interviewing you. And what I thought was interesting was a lot of people were like, how is his health? Because there's so many people that, are legends in the industry who are passing away. And we want to make sure you're going to be around for a long time. So, yeah, you look strong. You look great. That's awesome.
Well, I learned a long time ago that the people that I knew in the music business and the film business, and sometimes just generally in business altogether, that were doing drugs and drinking, were shortening their life. Yeah. You could see it. People that were smoking cigarettes, you could see their wrinkles around their lips and the look in their eyes. So I stopped doing everything. When the Eagles stopped in 1980, I don't drink, I don't smoke pot, I don't smoke cigarettes or anything like that. I try to eat really well. We work out and try to stay in good physical shape. My girlfriend, Jaden, was Miss Nevada, and her mother and father were both professional competitive bodybuilders. hours.
Wow.
So she knows how to do everything at the gym. So she goes in with me and I can't slack off. She's
Yeah.
got this little black whip and she's like
Yeah.
whipping me to get me to
Can she
do it.
come here and help me out?
But we just have a great time. We do everything together. She goes on the road with me, and she takes great photographer, and she does all the social media. She's really just a key player in my life.
That's awesome. Did you know Ozzy?
I never met him.
Okay.
I knew him just through the industry, but I never met him. That metal scene was not something that I was particularly interested in. I was more classic rock and, some jazz along the way, where metal to me was just, it was harsh, and a
Okay.
lot of people love it, but it's when I hear a guitar player shredding, playing 1,000 notes a minute. There was the old saying that if you want somebody to remember something, set it to a simple melody. Now,
Yeah.
if you think of ABCs, kids that are 1.5, 2 years old can learn the ABCs by that silly little song, A, B, C, D, E, F. So they don't know what an A looks like. They don't know what a B, they don't know anything about the
Right.
alphabet. But in a very short period of time, they can memorize the sequence of the alphabet, right?
Yeah.
So I have that philosophy after watching Miles Davis and a bunch of other great jazz artists
Okay.
play. You never hear those guys going, they don't do that. They play in a very melodic, very sensitive way to reach out to you that you can remember. And when I do a live show, like when we're on tour and we get down to the end of my set and I play Hotel California, there are people air guitaring. They,
Oh,
they
that's cool.
know that song so
Yeah.
much. Or people singing the melody of the guitar part. You could just,
So cool.
it's so ingrained because it's simple enough to remember. It's unique and cool enough, and they've heard it 1,000 times, but you can't remember anybody shredding other than it just being impressive technically,
It's just cool. Right. Do you have a fun, memorable moment from a concert?
Well, I think the funniest one was I was working a show at Red Rocks in Colorado with
Mhm.
Steve Miller. And after sound check, Steve had his guys bring these two huge fans and put them on the sides of the stage facing the audience. And I went, why are you doing that? Is that because you're expecting them to be really hot or something? He said, no, everybody comes here and they start smoking marijuana and it drifts down onto the stage and we get high. So they put the fans to blow all the smoke away. And I went, thank you. I'd hate to be on the stage just without even knowing it.
Yeah. Are there any artists nowadays that you really enjoy?
Well, honestly, I really appreciate artists that are kind of a triple threat. They
Mm.
write their own songs, they play their own songs, and they sing their own songs. If you're a great singer, you need to have a song and a writer and all that stuff. If you're a great player and don't sing, then you're just kind of limiting your availability. I just think the players that do that, I remember seeing Alicia Keys before her first record came out. We were doing a benefit, I think, for Bill Clinton's gubernatorial, no, presidential, second presidential election.
Wow.
And in the living room of this huge, gigantic Beverly Hills mansion was this big black grand piano. And so there's probably 300, 400 people in that room and outside on the lawn. And all of a sudden, we start hearing the piano going, and everybody went, what is that? And it's Alicia sitting there and just killing it. No band, nothing, just playing and singing. It was like a young Aretha Franklin or something. You went, now that's the stuff right there. If you could do that without a band and get everybody's attention coming in instead of hanging out with Bill, they're coming in here to hear Alicia. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important to have all three talents developed. And if you don't have one, you should practice singing or writing or whatever it is, because that's where longevity in this business takes place. And if you look at even the history of the Eagles, the longevity of the writing and singing has just been unbelievable. The catalog that's been developed over all those years is
Yeah.
really important because they were all self-contained. You know, it
Yes.
wasn't like we didn't have to go look for songs or stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I just saw the Duprees perform on Saturday. Michael Martocci is a Frank Sinatra singer, and he worked with the Duprees, and they've been around forever. The one guy, Jimmy Spinelli, he's 82. He was still dancing. They were singing. It was really
yeah,
cool. The longevity.
I think maintaining your health and your skills is crucially important. Like, even if I'm off the road for a week here in my house, I'll run my entire show top to bottom 3 times. Where I'm in playing and singing in my studio, I've got it all recorded live. So I just mute my guitar and mute my recorded vocal, and I stand in there and sing and play, because you can't go out on stage and play the solo for Hotel California and make mistakes.
Right.
You can't do that. Everybody knows every note of every solo,
Yeah.
including heavy metal. When I play that, they know it, you know? So I try to keep my physical, my emotional, and just my spirit in the best, strongest possibility I can to provide the best show when I'm on stage live.
Cool. That's so cool. And I know we're all looking forward to seeing you. I have 2 fun questions for you. One, what
Okay.
was the time where you were starstruck?
Well, the time that I was most starstruck and intimidated, I have to say, is that I had been opening for Steve Miller, matter of fact, at the a theater in New York City. And I just played my set, and out comes my guitar tech carrying my white double neck. And the crowd goes, yeah, right? Because they know what's coming when they see that guitar.
Right.
The curator for the Metropolitan Museum of Art is sitting in the audience, and he says, there's a connection between the audience and the instrument, not necessarily the audience and the artist, or
Wow.
the audience and the song, but the instrument. There's a connection there. So he calls the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, unbeknownst to me, and they decide to put on an exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum of Art of the most famous guitars in the history of rock and roll. They go back to Elvis Presley's guitar. Jimmy Page's double neck is there. Jimi Hendrix's Strat that he played in Woodstock is there. I mean, the place is just full of every great guitar legend's guitars that you
Wow.
saw. So they had called me up and said, well, your guitar is going to be on exhibit there. And the first thing I did when I moved to New York, the first day I was there, I got up and I went to the Metropolitan New York Museum and spent the entire day going through there. Because in Gainesville, there was no art. There was no museum. There was no way to see those things that you had seen in books, but you know, there you are.
Being in
Spent the
person.
entire day.
Yeah, of course.
So here I am, 50 something years later, hanging on the wall of the Met. So they call me up and say, would you come for the opening ceremony? And I'm like, yeah, I'd be glad to. So I hop in. I think it was in 2019 or something, and fly back. I get there. They want me to do a thing for CBS where they film me playing at night, where it's echoing down the halls of the
Wow.
Metropolitan Museum, just me. So I film it, and they put that out as an advertisement for the thing. And then the next day they said, "Look, we got about 200 press that are coming in this small room, and there's like video cameras all around the back of it. And there's all these photographers and writers from the Wall Street Journal, and they're covering this event. Would you mind coming out and playing like you did last night, a little bit of Hotel California?" And I said, okay, I'll do that. And so they had this little small stage set up. It was maybe 8 feet wide and 4 feet deep, one microphone, my little guitar amp, and a couple of speakers to play back, because I would play back the track of the band and I'm playing with the speaker. So anyway, I go, sure, I'll do that. So I walk out on the stage, and sitting right in front of me at my feet is Jimmy Page. And I was like, I can't make a mistake.
You can't mess up.
I will writhe in the middle of the night if I mess up, and he's going to notice, and he will know every bend that's not quite in tune. You know, he just, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, don't let me mess up, please. Don't let me mess up. So I walk out and do it, and he was the first one to stand up and give me a standing ovation. The whole room came up to us, which was great. And then I went down and introduced myself because I'd never met him before, and we just became friends out of that.
Oh,
His
wow.
guitar, his double neck was there, and mine was there. Had a lot in common.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And also, do you have any fun hidden talents that we don't know about?
I used to play golf a lot, and I played in a lot of celebrity golf tournaments for different fundraisers, which was a great way to go play golf with Alice Cooper. He has one every year that I'm going to do this December, where we go play golf and then we play music. And he's got a whole center for kids that they can go to after school. There's musical instruments there. There's tutors that can help them with their homework. He's trying to keep them off the street between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock when they go home, when their mom and dad are there, because if they're out on the street, that's where all the trouble begins.
Yeah, you don't want that.
So, and he's doing a great job for it. So, we do a lot of fundraisers, but I was a 7 handicap. I was really good until COVID. And then I did not leave my house for almost 2 years. I was not going out to I kept seeing these numbers going up, 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 of people going into the hospital and dying. It's like, oh, I'm not going outside. I'll stay inside.
And last question, do you have any like reality show guilty pleasures? Do you watch anything fun on TV?
I find it sometimes difficult even to focus on real reality, much less reality. My daughter, Leah, was married to Brandon Jenner, and they were part of the Kardashians with Bruce when he was still Bruce, and they wanted her to be on the show. And I gave her some advice. I said, look, you're a singer. You and Brandon have a record that you're in the process of making. On this show, you guys should be in your studio arguing about the song or what you're going to do, how's you writing lyrics to create drama, but let people know you and learn you as a singer, a writer, and a performer. So they do it. They get the top of this building for the opening party release, and all the Kardashians come. Bruce was there, David Foster was there, just a bunch of celebrities were there, and it was all being filmed for that TV show.
Yeah.
The next week after that show aired with that opening thing and them being on, their record went to #1 on iTunes.
Wow.
Like that. So she called me up and said, Dad, you were absolutely right. I said, that's probably the only time you'll tell me I was right about something. I know.
Well, like with that kind of...
She said, no, I want you to be on that show. I went, I don't want to be on the Kardashian show. She said, no. What I want to do is I want to go to a small restaurant, have you come in and sit down and give me that advice, like you're telling me this in the past, and they'll air it like, as if it were pre-filmed before we released the record. So I said, okay, but I'm not going to do anything else on this show. I think David Foster was on Housewives of Beverly Hills or something. He was
married to Yolanda, right?
That's right, yeah. And I've known David. As a matter of fact, I sold him his very first house in Malibu that I had built. And so I've known him for decades, We've worked together on records and just hung out. And, I've known him a long time. Great guy, very talented.
Well, I appreciate your time, Don. I want everybody to check you out. You're going to be at the Freedom Mortgage Pavilion in Camden on Friday, August 8th, but you also have your new album that came out, The Vault, and you just have so many great, inspiring words, and I want everybody to listen to this interview. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you would like your fans to know?
No, that's fantastic. I'm healthy. I'm having a great time. I'm writing, recording, touring. I've got a beautiful soul in my life in Jaden. Life is good. When you say, do I watch reality shows? No, I like my reality that I'm living in now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for your time, Don.